Hi everybody, this is Religious School Class Part 2 because we didn't have enough time to do everything I'd hoped to do with you. So this should be relatively short, but I do want to share a fun story with you called Let My People Go. This is a Passover story, and I also want to show you some things that I have in my house for Passover because your homework this week is to find some things in your own house that you can share with the class next week. And if you don't have things in your own house, I'm going to invite you to make something. And in fact, even if you do have things in your house, if you'd like to make something, that would be really fun. And I'm going to email home a link to a Pinterest page, which has lots and lots of ideas for projects. And of course, if you have your own idea, you can certainly do that. But let's start with a story. This is called Let My People Go. It is backwards on my screen, but I'm hoping it's coming across the right way for you. This is a book about Passover, and it's written in rhyme. A burning bush, and it began. As God told Moses, here's my plan. But Moses was a simple man. He said, I just don't think I can. Poor Moses. God wouldn't hear the answer no, and said, with Aaron you will go to lead my people from Pharaoh. Tell him that your God said so. So Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh. Our God says, let my people go. And Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A big mistake. He didn't know that God would deal a mighty blow. A plague, a plague, a plague, Egyptians to the Pharaoh said. Their God has turned our water red. No more fish, they all are dead. Where's some water we can drink? We cannot stand this bloody stink. P.U. Then Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh. Our God says, let my people go. And Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A plague, a plague, a plague! Frogs were Pharaoh's next nightmare. He cried, they're hopping everywhere! Tell God to send the frogs away. Then you can go without delay. They're in my oven, in my bed. I think a frog jumped on my head. So Moses prayed, and the frogs were dead. Then Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh. Our God says, let my people go. And Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A plague, a plague, a plague. Egyptians cried, oh no, now gnats, covering cows and dogs and cats, covering us from head to toe. Please, Pharaoh, let those people go. Then Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh. Our God says, let my people go. And Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A plague, a plague, a plague. God spread the ground with nasty flies, but Pharaoh answered, only lies. I'll let your people leave this place. Just get these flies out of my face. When Pharaoh said, it's done, we'll go, Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A plague, a plague, a plague. Soon animals began to die. Egyptians pleaded, hear our cry. Pharaoh, Pharaoh, why? But Pharaoh still would not comply. Then Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh. Our God says, let my people go. Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A plague, a plague, a plague. Egyptians moaned and cried in dread to see their skin turn purply red and nasty boils begin to spread. But Pharaoh was an old hardhead. When Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh, our God says, let my people go. Pharaoh shouted, no, no, no. A plague, a plague, a plague. God continued the campaign with hail and thunder, mighty rain. There'd never been a worse event. It looked like Pharaoh might relent. When Moses spoke to mean Pharaoh, "Our God says, 'Let my people go.'" Pharaoh shouted, "No, no, no." I bet you know what's coming next. "A plague, a plague, a plague." Now God sent down a new command, and Moses, with his outstretched hand, sent hungry locusts through the land. Said Pharaoh, "This I cannot stand. Leave Egypt now as you have planned." But when the people packed to go, Pharaoh shouted, "No, no, no." A plague, a plague, a plague. Then Egypt had 3 days of night, while Israelites enjoyed God's light. So Pharaoh, tired of the fight, said, "Wives and children all can go. You cannot take your livestock, though." He really didn't mean it, so he soon was shouting, "No, no, no." A plague, a plague, a plague. God, through Moses, said, "Beware. This plague is bad beyond compare. Death to every firstborn son, from royal born to poorest one. But sons of Israel I will spare, so listen now, you must prepare." And as God struck this final blow, Pharaoh shouted, "Go, go, go." Well, I hope you enjoyed that virtual story time. I like that book because it gives you the basics of the story and in kind of a fun way with the rhymes. And when you do it in class, you can have everybody shouting the "no, no, no" and the "let my people go" parts, and that's kind of fun. So I just want to show you a few things that I have in my house for Passover, because that's the other thing I wanted to do in class today. This is something I actually made when I was, I guess, a teenager. Can you read this? It says matzah. Did you read that? Good job. And around the corners, now this is Hebrew script, so you probably can't read this, but Hebrew has a cursive version just like English does. And this is a hey, and these two letters are actually lamed in Hebrew. And it says Hillel, that was my dad's name. And over here, this says Shlomit, that's my mom's name. And I think this is upside down. This says Talia, that's my sister's Hebrew name. And this is mine in script, Tova. And this is a matzah cover, which I made, I think, as part of a religious school activity at my temple. So that's something that I have that we sometimes use on Passover, and it's nice because it's something from my childhood that my family actually helped make. But I also have a few things here that are special because they're from other people in my family. So this, can you read this? There are no vowels, but I bet you can read it anyway. This also says matzah, and as you can probably guess from the shape of it, this is to put matzah in. So at the Seder, you would stack up all of the matzah in here to hold all the pieces that people will eat throughout the Seder. This is separate from the 3 pieces of matzah which get put into a special container. And then we take the middle matzah, and do you know what that middle matzah becomes? That's right, the afikomen. This is one of those special places for putting matzah. This is a matzah cover, and you can see here it's got different sections for putting each of the 3 matzot. Now you may also be noticing that it is dirty. That is for 2 reasons. One reason is because wine stains, which I think is what this is, are very hard to get out. But the other reason is that this is very old. So this belonged to my grandparents. And let me see on this tag, this was actually made in Israel. There's no date on it, but I suspect it's pretty old. You can see on the back, it looks like it's been through a lot, and it has. Both of my grandparents have died, and it's very special to me that I get to have this now and use it with my own family, because it's a reminder of my grandparents. And then finally, I wanted to show you my Seder plate. Now, my Seder plate, as I'm sure you can tell, did not belong to my grandparents. This is something that my mom bought for my family to have in our house. And she got this one because she thought that it was something that we would really like. It's very colorful and fun. And she's right. I love this Seder plate. I love how pretty it is and all the little hearts on it. Right here in the middle, this is the Hebrew word for Passover. Can anybody read it? I'll give you a second. And that word is Pesach. You will notice that not only does it not have the nikud, the vowel symbols, it also does not have the dagesh for the pei. And that's common. That's the way the Torah is written, actually. And these are pictures for all the different things that you would find on your Seder plate. So, your homework this week is to find one or two objects in your house, either that have been passed on from older generations or things that maybe your parents bought that you use for Passover at your home. If you don't have anything, or even if you do and you want to make something, I'm including a link, like I mentioned earlier in the video, for a whole bunch of Passover related crafts. If you have time and the materials already at home and you want to, I invite you to make something. It could be your own Seder plate or a matzah cover or decorations for the Seder table, anything at all that you want. The idea is just to sort of tap into the spirit of the holiday and to do something that will be fun and meaningful for you or your family. That's it. I hope that you all have a great week. I will be seeing you on Wednesday in your smaller groups and look forward to hearing how you're coming along with the 4 questions. Thank you for joining me this morning. It was so great to see all of you. Please send me an email if you have any questions at all. I check it lots of times, and even if you just want to say hi, I will definitely write back to you. Have a great week. Shavua Tov. Bye-bye.